Dairy giant Fonterra is promising to get back to basics after unveiling a $605 million annual loss. New Zealand's biggest company has written off $826 million from mainly overseas assets as it looks to clear the decks and scale back its global ambitions. And while it's confirmed a farmgate milk payout to farmers of $6.35 per kilo of milk solids for the season, the payout won't be topped up with a dividend. Here's our political reporter Nona Pelletier.
A record loss for the world's largest dairy exporter and a promise to do better. Fonterra's chair, John Monaghan, says the result isn't what it should be, but he's confident Fonterra has a plan to turn it around in the coming year.
Our performance this year is not what it should have been. It's not the result we said we would deliver to our owners. However, I'm positive about the changes that we've made and the outlook for the next few years. I'm well aware of the impact this has had on our farmers' balance sheets and their financial effect on our unit holds of the share price. Returning to a dividend and returned outlook on our milk price is a key area of concentration for FY20. I'm confident that implemented well, our strategy will bring a new period of success for our co-op in 2020.
Fonterra ran into trouble as it pursued an expensive debt-funded strategy to become a dominant global dairy player, focusing on expanding into consumer products in markets like China. Now it's back to basics, or as the chief executive Miles Hurrell puts it, a leaner, more focused business. And that shift in strategy, Mr. Hurrell says, will result in some job losses, beginning with the closure of its Paraparaumu specialty cheese factory, which employs about 70 people. Fonterra plans to consolidate all of its specialty cheese operations at its Eltham site in South Taranaki, which will add about 35 jobs.
At this point, I'm also going to let you know this morning we've been speaking to our people at a specialty cheese site in Te Roto and Paraparaumu about the tough decision we've had to make to close that plant. We're planning to consolidate our specialty cheese business's operations to our Bridge Street Eltham site in Taranaki. Our priority at the moment is working with our people through today's announcement and what it means for them.
Kapiti's Mayor Kay Guru-Nathan says the closure comes as a shock, despite rumours about Fonterra's restructuring plans.
As mayor, I feel very sad for what's happened, and I'm looking and feeling that I know that I'll be talking to the unions to make sure these workers' interests are looked after.
Kay Guru-Nathan says it's an unfortunate fact that small regions such as Kapiti take the hit when big companies like Fonterra make poor decisions. The dairy giant is now pinning its hopes on its new strategy to focus on adding value to local production. Miles Hurrell says a return to the co-op's roots will deliver growth.
We started as a number of small co-ops. You could argue a little bit inefficient across that model. Coming together as one has created a whole lot of efficiency. As the last few years we've gone out and to grow our global footprint, to become a global dairy giant, to make a difference in the lives of 2 billion people, the things we talked about. This really does say we've got this fantastic product here in New Zealand. Our farmers are world leading. How do we take the goodness of what they do behind Farmgate and put a Fonterra label on that and take it to the world?
But now you've got competition you didn't have before, so how are you going to manage that?
Yeah, we know about the competition, but again, through discussions, the development of the strategy that we're putting forward today is not something that's just been thought of with a couple of management people sitting in office. We've engaged extensively with our farmers, and this is what resonates for them as well. They want us to say, we're doing this great stuff behind the farm gate. How do you bring the goodness of that to the world? And that's what we're about.
But at the end of the day, it is still a commodity, right? You are going to have to compete on price.
We will have to compete on price at the farmgate level, but at the same time, how do we also give a dividend back and a return to our shareholders? That's what the focus is.
So is Fonterra, which was founded in 2001 as a national cooperative, really on the right track now? ANZ agricultural economist Susan Kilsby says the company's strategy lacks the wow factor.
But I think that's actually a good thing. So what they're really driving for is simplicity, returning to their core roots, and really trying to derive value for the milk that's produced here in New Zealand and not be distracted by a lot of investments in other parts of the world.
Susan Kilsby thinks Fonterra has largely turned the corner, although questions still remain about the value of some of its offshore assets. Down on the farm, Geraldine farmer Ard Hendricks says now is the time for the company to deliver.
It would be pretty sad if it got any worse. I mean, they've written down quite a few things, so I think they had a good look now at the books and what they've actually owned or want to get rid of. And I think from here I can only see upwards trends.
That hope shared no doubt by Fonterra's 10,500 farmer supplier shareholders who've been frustrated by rising debt and costs from the company's troubled expansion. For Checkpoint, I'm Nona Pelletier.